I don't know about you, but when you think of the Florida Aquarium, you think about going downtown Tampa, and you've got the family and all the different exhibits, but there's so much more that the Florida Aquarium does, especially when it comes to sea turtle rehabilitation. And that's where we are right now, the center of it all, which is a new building. I am joined by Dr. Ari, who's going to explain what's happening out here and how sea turtles are really in a place that you guys are getting them ready to go back out to the waters. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing good, Natalie.
So yeah, let's explain this facility. Maybe you've seen in the headlines too that it actually just opened this year, so it's definitely been an exciting time for Florida Aquarium, right?
It really is. So we're standing in the hospital room of the new Sea Turtle Rehabilitation Center. We just opened this building end of January, and so since early February we've been bringing in turtles, rehabilitating them, and then getting them back out.
And the more I'm learning here, you should see we're asking about 1,000 questions of you, Dr. Ari, because this is so fascinating. You always have heard things about sea turtles and why you have them. Let's explain some of the things that you have run into and why you do have this certain amount of sea turtles that you do have right now that you're working with.
Sure. So we see turtles come in for a number of different issues. Cold stunning, obviously we're getting into summer now, but most of these animals came in late winter, early spring. So cold stunning happens to be the main reason that we'll get them in. As we get into summer, we start to see a shift to things like boat strikes. People are out there fishing, so we'll get animals with fish hooks. And then obviously as we get into later summer, probably early fall, we'll expect to see probably some red tide cases.
And of course, we always hear the things about sea turtles. Again, if you're paying attention to the headlines, wanting to save the sea turtles, let's talk about their role in the sea and why it is so important to keep them safe, keep them healthy, and of course, we're so thankful for people like yourself who are helping to save them.
Sure. So they really are what we call kind of a flagship species. That means in addition to the impact that they have on the environment, which is in many ways, they also really seem to be good at capturing people's imaginations, getting them excited and interested in some of these factors that are impacting not just sea turtles, but everyone who has to live and work around the ocean. Sea turtles themselves travel globally. A lot of these species are literally world travelers, so they play a role in the distribution and moving around of species and nutrients. Different species are really good at going after certain food items. So, I mean, you might have heard that they're really good at eating jellyfish. Some species like the leatherback eat almost nothing but jellyfish. Other animals like the hawksbill eat sponges, and so they're really important to keeping coral reef areas clean so that new coral can settle and grow and not get out-competed. So they really do have a big impact in a lot of ways, but they also are susceptible, like I said, to a lot of things like beach erosion, habitat loss, warming temperatures, both in the water and in the air, storms. So all these things that I think are becoming more and more front of mind for people here in Florida. Turtles have been dealing with these issues for a long time, and there's sort of a nice place to sort of stand and rally behind to sort of see where we can have an impact.
Well, it's what's been one of the things that's been very fascinating is the relationship that you have with FWC and how a lot of the turtles that are here right now are actually from the East Coast. Talk a little bit how this really is a community, and the state of Florida is working together to be able to make sure we're saving these turtles in the right way and putting them back in the right habitat as well.
Sure. So we're part of what's called the Sea Turtle Stranding Network. So we're just one of a number of partners. So anyone that does sea turtle rehabilitation or rescue stranding response in the state of Florida, we're all connected, and we all work with the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission to manage these cases. What that means is that we may not always be getting turtles locally. So for instance, the cold stun season was particularly bad on the East Coast this year. More turtles than the facilities out there were able to take in at one time. And since we had space, we sort of share the burden and bring those turtles in, get them back into good shape, and then again we work with FWC and those other partners to make sure that these animals go back to an area where they were found, so that they don't have to, we're not dropping them off in a strange neighborhood.
And we've got a few different species that we've been able to take a look at actually during this. You've got 3 here, right?
Correct, yeah. We have one subadult loggerhead, we have Kemp's Ridley, and then currently we have a full house of green sea turtles of a couple different sizes.
Well, I think in closing, of course, we need to ask, and we need to ask within ourselves, what can we do to help the sea turtles? How can we help you and make sure we're making right decisions to make your jobs easier and ultimately be able to see a difference in our oceans?
Sure. Well, if you see a sea turtle or catch a sea turtle, you can always call FWC. They have a hotline 24/7. Sort of the bigger picture, it really comes down to how are we living and interacting with our environment in ways that are potentially impacting these animals that I think we're becoming more and more aware of. So that means, reducing the use of single-use plastics, right? Using a reusable shopping bag, skipping the straw. I'm sure everyone's heard that by now. Being aware of factors that are influencing things like sea levels and climate change and beach use and protection. These are all factors that everyone in Florida has a stake in, and things that we do that are good for turtles are going to be good for us as well.
Where can people go to learn more information about what you're able to do here and maybe how they can help out and get involved?
Absolutely. So there's a lot of information on the Florida Aquarium's website, as well as if you just Google Florida Fish and Wildlife sea turtles. There's a ton of information on that website. People are tracking all sorts of interesting things about where these animals are going, what they're doing in their free time, as well as what kind of nesting numbers and things we're seeing from year to year.
Exciting stuff. Dr. Ari, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it. And as always, you can get more information on our website as well.